Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you guys how to use and build Wataru. Wataru is under the 3 faction of Protagonists, List of Legend, and Times of Heroes. I'm going to review his 2 classes at level 70 max stats. The Hero class and the wlo.link class, they both have almost the same stats except Hero has a little bit more skills and the other one has more health. The biggest difference of these 2 classes is that Hero is infantry and the other class is a mecha class that he can fly, similar to Bozo and Rachel. I'm going to review his 2 classes at level 70 max stats. The Hero class and the wlo.link class, they both have almost the same stats except Hero has a little bit more skills and the other one has more health. The biggest difference of these 2 classes is that Hero is infantry and the other class is a mecha class that he can fly, similar to Bozo and Rachel. Talent, Dragon's Power. I think his talent is quite unique. So now let's take a look. For every ally on the map, attack and defense plus 2, 3, 4, 6% at 6 stars up to 10, 15, 20, 30% at 6 stars. At the start of a turn, restore 20, 30, 45, 60% of own HP. When Wataru's HP is at 100%, range damage taken minus 15, 20, 25, and 30% and may counter attack range attack from 2 blocks away. Now let me break this down. Let's take a look at the first part. So the more allies on the map, which means when they're alive, the stronger he gets when it comes to his attack and defense. A summon unit such as Sky Archer is also considered an ally, which means the most stats you can get is when you have 4 allies alive. If you have 5 or 6, it doesn't matter. Your max you're going to get is 6% attack and 30% defense. Now second part, at the start of a turn, restore 60% of own HP. So note that it says at the start of a turn, which means if you act again on Wataru, you're not going to get that heal, because at the start of a turn, which means when phase change, there's a player phase, there's an enemy phase. When it comes to Apex, will be a player 1 phase and player 2 phase. If you're a player 1, you will need to wait until the phase changes to the next 1 player phase. Okay, now the last part of this talent, when Wataru's HP is at 100%, range damage taken minus 30%, that's really strong, and may counter attack range attacks from 2 blocks away. So Magus is threatened even though he is a melee attack unit. However, able to keep that 100% HP, it might be a little bit hard in Apex because there's a lot of AoE and there's also fixed damage before the battle. There's other stuff, so it's really good, but it doesn't make him broken because the requirement is quite hard to sustain. Next, we have the bonding requirement. Basically, you just have to fully max him in your class mastery and then your bonding, and that's it. Well, the third one here is clear time with elite 3-1. Wataru has a lot of unique skills, and these 3 are the common skills. I probably won't go over it. These are, you probably won't use them. Attack command, you probably would use it when it comes to PvE, but there's no chance to really equip that in PvP. Okay, now let's take a look at his exclusive skills. Airyuken. So this one is cost 2, cooldown 2, range 1, span single. Deals physical damage, attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.4 times damage. Before battle, dispels 3 buffs from the enemy. So this is like a different version of Roar, very similar, but Roar gives you the attack and intelligent debuff. This one just straight up dispels 3 debuffs. And then, dispels 3 buffs and deals a little bit more damage than Roar. Here's your chance, Wataru. Cost 1, cooldown 4, range 3, and span single. Active. Active use causes the target to be unable to move or guard. Lasts 1 turn. After use, may move 2 blocks and attack. When using this skill, buffs will not decrease in duration, and if the target's HP is higher than Wataru, then this skill's effects cannot be dispelled. Okay, so the first thing you have to notice is that this does not do any damage. It's not an attack. So when he causes the target to unable to move, it's like you apply like a debuff. But in you probably won't really have a chance to use this in PvE. It's solely a PvP attack in my opinion. So you got to be careful when you are playing Apex since it lasts one turn. So if you apply this on a tank, since it's unable to move or guard, most likely you'll be using on a tank, or you'll be using on an assassin or whoever that can threat you. If you use it on a tank, you gotta be really careful, because if you apply it when the tank is active, the tank can easily just end the turn and this debuff is gone. Okay, so now the second part of this is after use may move 2 blocks, so that's really good. He has extra movement, he does something, he applies a debuff, and now he can move and act. Now when using this skill, buffs will not decrease in duration, that's also really good. And if the target's HP is higher than Wataru, then this skill's effects cannot be dispelled. So from my understanding, this is pretty much a skill that you should use on a tank, because probably only tanks or really beefy characters will have higher HP than you do. Okay, Sword Soul costs 2, cooldown 5, range 1, span single. We should all be really familiar with this skill already. It's basically the skill from Elwyn, so I won't spend time explaining this skill. Airyuken costs 2, cooldown 3, range 3, and span single. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.2 times damage. Melee soldiers will also attack. Also inflicts movement -2, cannot guard. Last 2 turns. This skill does not have melee penalties, which is why when you have something like this, you really don't have a chance to use Air Slash. This is like a better version of Air Slash. Does less damage. This is another skill that he has movement -2 and cannot guard. Hyogatan costs 2, cooldown 3, range 4, span single. Active use causes displacement effect, move self next to the target, after which it may move 3 blocks and attack. The displacement effect cannot be immunized against. Okay, so this is not an attack. So this is almost the same as Angelina's alternate. It does the same thing. You can use it on your ally, you can use it on the opponent, so that's the difference. But basically you move yourself next to the target. Awakening skill, Hisatsu Toryuken. So this is obviously a stronger version of Toryuken, so you probably won't have a chance to use Toryuken. Okay, so cost 3, cooldown 4, range 1, and span single. So for a 3C, we rarely see one with a cooldown of 4. Usually it's a cooldown 5 or 6. Physical damage. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.9 times damage. So this is the most damage that I think a single span attack I've seen. Usually, I think the highest is like 1.8, like Ashram's, but this is 1.9 damage. Before battle, dispel 5 buffs, like Sword Soul. If the enemy has 1 or less movement, or if they're stunned, then damage dealt plus 20% and they cannot activate revive effects. So this skill, you want to use it with Here's Your Chance Wataru to reduce their movement, and now your damage is going to deal extra 20%, and they cannot activate revive effects. So it's pretty much you're using this to counter tanks such as Landius, such as Hilda and Albedo. The latter effect only activates in PvP, which means that revive part will not work on PvE. When successfully defeating an enemy, gain exhausted, damage dealt -30%. After ending action, restore 30% HP. So the damage dealt -30% is similar to Yusuke. After his transform is over, he is going to lose his damage dealt. And then restore 30% HP. Last 1 turn. Exhausted cannot be dispelled or immunized against. Definitely one of the strongest, if not the strongest, single target skill. Dispels and then does a lot of damage, and you cannot revive. Crazy. Recommended weapon. The first one I would recommend would be Mimir's War Axe. Remember about his talent, when he has more allies he gets stronger. But with this axe here, if he loses 1 or 2 allies, he's still going to be strong, still going to be a big threat. Wataru is a hero that gets weaker in late game, especially in Apex. But with this axe, it will solve that problem. Seal Guardian is always one of infantry's best sword. If you don't have other ones and you have a lot of Seal Guardian, you can use it on him. Now the last one will be Mjolnir. He's already very strong with Dispel, but with extra Dispel, for example, tanks, they probably would have faction buff. That's 4 buffs already, and then they have the buffs from support, so there's probably like 6-7 buffs. But with Mjolnir and 3C, now you're dispelling 6 buffs, so the chances of you dispelling the important ones is very high. Recommended armor. A-list battle armor is really good. Again, remember his talent at 100% HP, he reduces 30% range damage. So with this, it can be 60% if it procs. The chances of a strong mage to kill you or assassin reduces by a lot. Gaia's armor is also a very decent choice. Strong against physical damage, is also strong against magic damage. Next we have Giant's Resistance. This one is good if you think you are weak against assassins. If you don't have any of these armor, to be honest, I think any armor is okay when it comes to infantry. It doesn't really matter that much, but these are the 3 that I would recommend. Fury of Tyr, I think, is the best helmet for him, since he has Here's Your Chance Wataru, the Act Again move, and if you were not going to attack, now your counter damage is also higher, because now at 100% HP, you can counter attack to range attacks. Therefore, this helmet is good when you go offense and when you are in defense. Aeneas helmet is kind of similar to Seal Guardian. If you don't have anything better, they're kind of like the best placeholder that you can use for your heroes. Vampire Mask is also a decent choice because he can act twice in one turn. What I mean is that when you use Here's Your Chance Wataru, that's your one chance to debuff your enemy. After that, you can attack. After you're attacking, and debuff again. I think Vampire Mask caters more to PvE, but then I think it's still good for PvP as well. Recommended accessories. So before I explain why these accessories are good, if you don't have any of these, don't worry. Any attack up accessories are already really good. First one we have is Heart of Gaia. Heart of Gaia is really good because if you change to your next turn, your next phase, you're going to automatically regenerate your HP. Your HP restoration cannot be stopped. It's automatic. So which means if you get Heal Reversal or Curse of Wounding, you're going to lose 60% of your max HP. Apex Boots is always great for infantry, especially if you're using wlo.link class. That one's a 4 movement, plus Apex Boot, that'll be 5 movement. And after, if you use Here's Your Chance Wataru, that's 7 movement. Last one I would recommend would be Swordsmith's Medal. I think this one is good if you want to keep his HP as 100% before the battle in order to reduce range attack by 30% and counter to range attacks. Don't forget that Swordsmith Medal immunes to fixed damage and silencing effects, so it's good if you think you're already very strong with your hero enchant and everything. Swordsmith Medal is not a bad choice. Okay, we're gonna look at Enchant Choices, Full Moon for maximum defense and attack. Breeze I think is probably the best in both PvE and PvP. The reason why is because when he uses Here's Your Chance of Wataru, you're not gonna lose your buffs. Well, regardless if you proc Breeze or not, you're still only able to move 2 blocks when you use that skill. However, your damage dealt increases by 10% is there, so that including the 3C's 20% damage dealt. I'm not 100% sure, but from what I know, they do stack. So instead of 20% damage dealt increase, that's 30%. Rough Sea is also nice, stacks nicely with this talent. Attack increases and damage taken is reduced. Okay, we're finally down to our last section, Soldier Choices. He actually has a lot of good soldiers, but these 2 are the one that I would recommend. If you're using Ryumaru class, which you should because that is the stronger class in my opinion, you need to use Griffin Knight or Angel in order to fly. If you use any land troops, you won't be able to bypass the terrain penalties. You use Griffin Knight for extra damage, extra defense, however, only if they don't have magic units, or you feel that the magic unit will not threaten you, then you use Griffin Knight. Angel does less attack, however they're awesome when it comes to taking magic damage, and with Wataru's 100% HP talent where you reduce your range attack by 30%, mages will have a lot of trouble trying to kill you. Okay everyone, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a better understanding about this hero. If you like what you're watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. See you guys next video. Bye bye.